All right, let's talk about Microsoft Access. It's one of those tools that's incredibly powerful, but let's be real. The first time you open it up, it can feel like you've been dropped into a maze with no map. But that's exactly what we're going to fix today. By the time we're done here, you're going to have that map.
Yeah, this screen right here. Does this look familiar? You open up a database, and bam, you're hit with this wall of stuff on the side. Tables, forms, reports, all these different objects. And you're just sitting there thinking, okay, what does what? Where do I even start? If that's you, trust me, you're in exactly the right place.
So here's our game plan. We're going to build a kind of mental blueprint for how Access works. And the best way to think about it is like building a house, right? You can't just throw up some walls. You need a solid foundation, you need the frame, the windows, the electrical system. Everything has its place. Well, Access is pretty much the same deal. Each of its parts has a very specific job to do.
And here they are. These are our 6 core building blocks. We've got tables, queries, forms, reports, macros, and modules. Think of these as the 6 essential tools in your database toolbox. And today, we're going to figure out exactly what each one is for. Okay, first things first. Just like building that house, we have to start with the foundation. This is the absolute most important part of any database because it's where everything, and I mean every single piece of information, is actually stored.
And in Access, that foundation is built with tables. Now, the easiest way to think about a table is as a storage container. Kind of like a spreadsheet, right? It's all about organizing your information into neat rows and columns. So if you take away just one thing about tables, let it be this. Their primary verb, their whole reason for existing, is to store your data.
But this is where Access tables blow a simple spreadsheet out of the water. They're way smarter. See, they had this built-in intelligence. For instance, you've got primary keys. Every single record gets its own unique ID, like a social security number for your data. And that's the secret sauce that lets you build relationships. You can link your customers table to your orders table without ever having to retype a customer's address a million times. It's super efficient and cuts down on mistakes. Then you have data integrity. These are rules you set up to make sure your data is clean from the get-go, like, say, forcing a phone number field to only accept numbers, or making sure an email address actually has an @ symbol in it. It's all about building a foundation that's not just big, but strong and reliable.
All right, so we've got our foundation poured, and our raw materials, all our data, are safely stored in our tables. Great. But now, how do we find anything? If you need a specific piece of data, you can't just go digging around. You need a set of blueprints.
And in the world of Access, those blueprints are called queries. You can think of a query as simply asking a question of your database. Its primary verb is to ask. You can ask it anything. Hey, show me all the customers from Texas. Or what were our total sales in the last 3 months? Or even which products are our absolute bestsellers? Queries are how you sift through that mountain of data in your tables and pull out just the specific answers you're looking for.
And you know what? The logic behind a query is actually super straightforward. First, you just tell it which table or tables you want to look in. Then you pick the columns or fields you care about seeing, maybe first name and city. The real magic, though, happens next. You set your criteria. This is where you actually ask the question, like city equals New York. Then you just hit run, and poof, Access goes and finds the answer for you.
But get this. Queries aren't just for finding stuff that's already there. They're like little analytical engines. They can actually perform calculations and create brand new information on the fly, information that doesn't even exist in your tables. For example, you could have a hire date but no years of service field. No problem, a query can calculate that for you. Or you could have price and quantity in your table, and the query can multiply them together to give you a total sale amount. This is huge. It's how you transform raw data into actual, valuable insights.
Okay, so let's recap. We can store data in tables, we can ask questions with queries, but how does a real person, a normal user who isn't a database wizard, actually use all this stuff? Well, that brings us to the user interface.
This is where forms and reports come into play, and honestly, these two get mixed up all the time. But the difference is really simple if you think about their main job, their verb. A form is for interacting. It's where you type stuff in, edit records, click buttons. Think of it like the doors, windows, and light switches of our database house. It's how you get in and do things. A report, on the other hand, is all about presenting. It's a finished, polished document. Think of a printed invoice or a year-end summary chart. It's designed to be looked at, printed, or sent as a PDF. It's the beautifully decorated room you show off to guests. So, our database house is really taking shape. We've got the foundation with tables, the blueprints with queries, and the doors and windows with forms and reports. But it's still a pretty static house. So now, let's add the electricity. Let's make things happen all by themselves.
And to do that, we have two different tools, macros and modules. Think of macros as the simple light switches in our house. They are for simple automation. You click a button, something happens, boom, done. They're perfect for those common repetitive things, like making a button that just opens up your new customer form, quick and easy. Modules, though, modules are the programmable smart home system. This is where you write custom code using a language called VBA. You wouldn't use this just to turn on a light, no way. You'd use it for complex stuff, like creating a sequence that says, when I save this new order, I want you to automatically generate an invoice, email it to the customer, and update our inventory levels. See the difference? When you need real power and custom logic, modules are your go-to.
And hey, don't let that word code freak you out. It doesn't have to be some crazy, complicated thing. A module could have something as simple as this. That green line up top, that's just a note for the human. The computer completely ignores it. The actual code is just that one little line, MSG box, record saved. And all that does is pop up a little confirmation box on the screen that says, record saved. That's it. See? It's really just a simple set of instructions.
Okay, we've looked at all 6 of our building blocks one by one. But now, this is the most important part. Let's put it all together and see how these pieces connect to create one complete, living, breathing system.
So, let's follow the life of some data, from start to finish. First, it gets stored safely in our tables. Then, a query asks for a very specific piece of that data, filtering out all the noise. Next, a user interacts with that data on a nice, clean form. Maybe they update a phone number. After that, the final result is neatly presented in a professional-looking report. And the coolest part? That whole chain of events, from looking up the record to printing the final report, can be kicked off with a single click, thanks to the automation we built with a macro or a module.
And that right there is the key takeaway. The real magic of Access isn't in any one of these individual parts. It's not the table or the query or the form. The magic is in the synergy. It's how all 6 of these different tools work together seamlessly as one interconnected system. That's what allows it to manage information in a way that a simple spreadsheet just can't even dream of. So now you get it. You understand how these 6 core objects work together. You've gone from being totally lost in that maze to holding the actual blueprint in your hands. You now have the knowledge to build a real living system that can store, find, use, and automate your data. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?